Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the Grayscale Trust, and also we're going to go over a few other things, including NVIDIA earnings, plus some additional NVIDIA news, plus also some dividend declaration dates. So with that being said, let's get it. All right, so first things first, I want to go over the portfolio here. As you guys can see, we're still up on mana. We're looking actually for this thing to go up to $70 or higher. So I haven't sold yet. Still have HZEN, still have ETCG. We're actually adding to render currently. We're not adding to these, so we're adding to some AI native tokens, but just wanted to show you what this looks like. So let's go ahead and get into the dividend paying stocks first. So here we have fepi. As you guys can see, the declaration date was today, or I should say is today. So we got an increase again up to $1.16. As you guys can see, this thing has ranged pretty tight between $1.10 to $1.20, so there's quite a bit of consistency here. That's the reason why we've loaded the boat so heavy on this one. So we'll go over the Curve Invest ETFs here. We do actually only own one of these, and that's TSLP. So we'll go over each. Okay, so TSLP, 43 cents, almost 44 cents, as you guys can see there. And the declaration date was actually yesterday, but we didn't really get a chance to get around to it yet. Plus, they also didn't have it posted. So 31 cents on, I believe this is AMZP. So yeah, that's actually still not bad if I'm being completely honest. I mean, it says the distribution rate's pretty low, but when you think about it, I mean, dividend growth stocks only pay like 2, 3, 4%. So 11 to 12% is actually really good. This one is the Apple version, so we got 24 cents here, so you actually got an increase month over month, so that's definitely a nice change. Google, this one you can see is a little higher, 13%, and this one also increased month over month. Of course, Google came out and said they're bullish on AI, which, I mean, it would, no offense against Google, we have been saying we're bullish on Google for a long time, but it would have been kind of silly if they had been bearish on the AI narrative, or basically not been in AI, since everybody else in big tech is in AI. So smart move on their part, in my opinion. But anyways, another increase month over month, so 33 cents over 29 cents. We got two left here, so Microsoft and Netflix. Microsoft, pretty much the same as last month's, with a slight increase, 27 cents, which again is not bad. The dividend yield you'll get here on this Curve Invest ETF is much more than actual Microsoft shares. If I was going to own Microsoft, I would rather just own 100 shares and do covered calls and or cash secured puts versus actually owning for the dividend, because the dividend is quite small. It's not a bad thing to invest into. It's just there's not really a whole lot of income there. So 45 cents over 43 cents on the last one here, which is the Netflix version. So now we're going to go into qdte and xdte. So qdte, as you can see, was yesterday. Last day to get in was today. But again, this is a weekly paying dividend ETF, so you don't need to worry about it. I mean, you can just get in for next week. So 21 cents per share here on qdte. That's the NASDAQ version. xdte, which is the S&P version. Quite a bit lower than the previous month, only 13 cents. But again, you have to understand these are based on volatility, and the markets have not really been that volatile this month. So 13 cents week over week. I mean, that still comes out to 50 cents, 50 some cents a month. And the share price, if I'm not mistaken, is also around $50. So that's like I'm trying to see where the price is. I have no idea where it is. Well, whatever the case. I mean, if the stock is $50 and the monthly distribution is also 50 cents per share, I mean, that's like a 10% dividend. So that's actually still really good. So SPYI, this is the NEOS one. This is the S&P 500 version. You can see here 50 cents per share. Declaration yesterday, xdate today. This is a monthly one, not weekly. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the current price is somewhere around $50. Yeah, so $50 right here, as you can see. And then going down to the NASDAQ version. So this one has a little bit higher yield. And $51, as you can see, it's actually higher than the SPYI, which is quite interesting. But of course, the NASDAQ is more volatile, so it's going to pay more. 61 cents on the month on that one. Okay, so just wanted to show you real quick. So let's see here. Where is it? Fepi. So Fepi, we got 55 shares times the current dividend yield. You can see we're going to get $64 for the month just from this one alone. Again, we have been buying pretty heavily into this on the month. So now let's get into the NVIDIA news. So I'm going to make this real short and then we'll get into the Grayscale Trust. So pretty much the synopsis was that most of the market thought that NVIDIA was going to miss on earnings. But we've been telling you guys here for eons that NVIDIA is the kingmaker of the tech companies. As of this point in time, the reason I say that flip is happening, a lot of people say, oh, Microsoft and Apple are going to be the biggest forever. Guys, nothing is the biggest forever, okay? Eventually something's going to change. NVIDIA is the kingmaker of the tech companies, and I say that because they are the ones that have put in the work for years developing and perfecting these AI-based chips, okay? And anything AI related is going to be the absolute spinal cord backbone infrastructure of the new era of technology. Okay. So whoever gets there and perfects it first is going to hold the majority of the market share. And in my opinion, that's going to be NVIDIA. And a lot of these other tech companies like Amazon, Apple, Google, maybe not Tesla, but maybe Tesla to some extent, Microsoft, pretty much any and every other tech company that hits over $1 trillion, they're going to go to NVIDIA for their chips. They're not going to develop their own because it's just cheaper for these companies to buy from NVIDIA than it is to make their own chips. Okay. So in short, NVIDIA beat earnings across the board, across all expectations. They're doing a 10-to-1 stock split, as you guys can see here in the title. And they did also increase their dividend as well. So extremely bullish news for NVIDIA all across the board. You can kind of see all the information here. Again, 10-to-1 stock split, increased dividend from 4 cents to 10 cents. That's a 150% increase. But I'll leave this in the description. You guys can look at it for yourselves in your own time. So again, NVIDIA, you can see they beat massively here. Now let's go ahead and get into the Grayscale Trust. All right, so I got to scroll all the way down here to get to this. So LTCN has had a bit of a pullback. Again, this is not really a surprise. I'm not expecting LTCN to go straight up right out of breaking out of this trend line, although it absolutely could. It has done it before, but you guys got to understand when it comes to price appreciation, the higher something gets in price, the more capital and the more FOMO it takes to move it up. And we're kind of in a standstill at the markets at the moment. Now that NVIDIA earnings has passed and it's extremely bullish, which is good for the markets, right? Probably, most likely, a lot of these Grayscale trusts are going to turn green tomorrow. That's just my guess because the markets, we were trading the markets this morning and they were kind of just chopping around. And I was assuming, and just so y'all know, my personal opinion, I did think that NVIDIA was going to beat earnings. I did not think they were going to miss. I just didn't say it. I asked you guys a question on X. You know, is it gonna beat or is it gonna miss? And you guys gave your opinions, of course. But I did think it was gonna beat. But we were trading futures this morning and it wasn't doing much of anything. And I was like, that's weird. So then I realized that NVIDIA's earnings was today after hours, and I was like, oh, that explains why the market didn't move. So tomorrow's market movement, I'm expecting to be extremely bullish for the indices and also for the tech companies and crypto. Okay. But we'll just have to wait and see. So LTCN looking very bullish. Just going to try to fly through this real quick. You guys can see we still have everything is very bullish down here. EMAs are starting to curl up. Got to break the trend line. Bounced off support. Everything looks good. So as of right now, the current support is still going to sit at the zone. So we've gone over this forever. So it's $24 to $27. And the target that we're looking for, the first target is 55, which again lines up with that control bar over here on the left. Just swing over here real quick. This big red bar right here, that is the control bar. Once we get past that, it's probably going to head to 75 and then 100 to 170, 100 to 135 respectively. So basically, pretty much from this support zone all the way to the swing high up here is about 130% move. And then from the current price, which could be considered a dip buying opportunity, to the swing high, roughly about 84%. So BCHG, same thing. It didn't have a confirmation candle breakout out of here. No follow-up candle yet, but again, we are sitting above the EMAs. That's very bullish. And if I go down to the daily, same thing. RSI is looking a little wobbly here, but we did have a golden cross, MACD golden cross. RSIs are all curling up and starting to point upwards. Price did break out of this trend line, bounced off support, closed above the range. So all that looks very bullish in my opinion. So pretty much current support is 10 to roughly about 1270 still as of right now, because again, the trend line is back here. And if the price comes back down to this trend line, well, it's going to be at the bottom of the range. So 18 to about 20 on the resistance up there, and again 24 on the local swing high up here. So if we measure it from the current price to the swing high, that's about 80% move. And I'll reiterate this once again: when we swing trade actual stocks, not crypto, we only generally look for 15% in one trade. Okay, if you just got this in one trade, you're getting 5 swing trades as far as we're concerned. So this is actually a really good move. I know 80% doesn't seem like a lot because it's crypto, but it is actually a lot, believe it or not. So, all right, second target, bottom of these candles, which again, in my opinion, down here towards the bottom of this range where the bottom of these candles are would be a very good place to buy, just my opinion. But from there to the high would be 120% move. HZEN, this one's actually looking a little bit more bullish. We have 2 more days, but this would be considered our breakout candle right here if we get it on the weekly time frame. And if I go down to the daily time frame, you guys can see that the indicators here are very bullish. We got 2 golden crosses here. We do have a golden cross forming right here on the EMAs, break of the trend line, follow-up candle right here, bounce off support. Everything looks good on HZEN. We just need that confirmation on the weekly time frame. So the trend line is going to be support, which is roughly about 490-ish. Below that, you're looking at 375 to 425. And then $6.90 to $8 at the top there, and then the swing high is roughly about $10.50. So from the current price to the swing high, we'd be looking at 77%, and then from roughly about the trend line to the swing high, you'd be looking at an even greater return of 116%. ETCG, this one's starting to look very bullish. The candle is above the EMAs. It's also starting to kind of move back above this trend line, although it's not exactly perfect yet. We need to see a close above the trend line for the trend line to be considered support again. But as of right now, the support is still sitting between 13 to 1580 until we get out of this zone, and then 1760 to $20 at the resistance there. So from current price to the resistance, 36%. And if we go back down here, which I honestly am not sure if we're going to or not. I'm kind of 50-50 on that. 53% return. And again, you guys got to remember on ETH and ETCG, these things are pumping hard, okay? On the backing of the spot Ether ETF news, which we already showed you guys in a previous video. Basically, the I don't know what you would call them. They're like analysts or something for Bloomberg. I don't know exactly what it is they do, but Eric Balchunas and Jeff Seyffert, those guys over at Bloomberg, which I believe that's where they work, they're pretty much saying at this point that there's an 80% chance that spot Ether ETF gets approved. Okay, if it does, ETH and ETCG are going to skyrocket. I can tell you all that right now. Anything Ethereum related or an Ethereum oscillator like Ethereum Classic, it's probably most likely going to go to the moon. I'm pretty confident we're going to see something like what happened with Bitcoin. So buy the rumor, okay? It's going to go up all the way into the approval. Then we're going to have a small pullback after the approval, and then we're going to get the next big leg up. That's just my opinion. That's what I think is going to happen. So current support is this zone on ETH, so 25 to about $28, $29. The resistance here is 41 to about 48, and the cup and handle target pattern here is 55. So if I just measure it from here to the cup and handle target, we'd be looking at about 64%. If I measure it from the bottom of this range to the cup and handle target, 115% move. And again, you guys can see the cup and then the handle, and then boom, we have this massive green candle here that confirms the breakout if we get the close on the weekly. All right, so PhilG, This is the Filecoin one. Just so y'all know, we have a lot of money in the native Filecoin cryptocurrencies. So don't have any PhilG, missed the opportunity there, but we do have the Filecoins. So very bullish on this one. So we got the breakout candle here, looking to get this follow-up confirmation candle. Haven't had it yet. Again, we have 2 days left. So as of right now, the bottom of this trend line is going to be support, which lines up with this support zone. So roughly about, I'd say somewhere between 30 to 40 bucks. Again, the swing high up here is going to be $400. If I measure from the current price to the swing high, 243% move. If I measure from the trend line to the swing high, you'd be looking at about, Jesus, you'd be looking at 1,140%. So, wow. If you manage to catch it down there and get it all the way to the top, please leave a comment down below, dude, so I can give you a high five, because good job on that one. So other thing to note here, we do need to get above the EMAs. Until we get above the EMAs with a green follow-up candle, I would say this one's still kind of 50-50. So GBAT, this candle is starting to look very bullish. It has reversed, which is definitely a good sign. So we have our breakout candle here, which you can see barely closed above the trend line. Follow-up candle, and ideally, if history repeats, we should have 5 weeks of green. So this would be week 4, so we'll have this week and one more week before a pullback. Or maybe it just keeps going straight up, I don't know. But as of right now, this kind of the support box is still going to be support. So you can see the trend line is converging with it. But that's going to be roughly about $7.75 to about $10, and then the swing high up here is $32. So from the current price to the swing high, about 91% move. And from pretty much right about where that trend line is to the swing high, you'd be looking at about 303%. So GLIV, I don't know what's going on with this thing, but this thing has had a massive pump today. So it's actually the most bullish one on here. So we got our little tiny kind of pathetic looking breakout candle here. This is the follow-up candle. It's looking pretty good. If it closes above the EMAs, I would say this thing is definitely going higher. So support's currently going to be at the trend line, which is about $19. We'll just say $19.50, somewhere in there. Swing high is about $80 at the top, as you guys can see. So still pretty good move here, potentially at least I'd say a 2.5x from the current price. So 140%, 141%, and then from the trend line to the swing high, you'd be looking at about 326% move. G-Link, we're looking at potentially a breakout candle here. Again, I did say that I thought a lot of these were going to break out and start moving before LTCN and BCHG, but it does appear that they all kind of want to move in sync. So that's quite interesting. Was not expecting that. So until we get a confirmation above this trend line, this support's still going to be support. So 65 to 83, and then the swing high up here is 220. If we get a confirmation close on the weekly above the trend line, that changes things. So from current price to the swing high, 72%. From the bottom of this range to the swing high, about 241%. Okay, so GSOL is looking very, very bullish. It does actually look like it's going to break out here. So this would be the breakout candle. We also have a potential golden cross happening here on both the RSI and the MACD on the weekly, which is quite interesting. So the white trend line down here, this is going to be your support. So that's going to be currently about $3.50 a share. And the high up here is $5.80. Again, I think this thing could easily snap the high, especially with how it looks right now. I was a little bit more bearish on it before, but now that we have the confirmation, I can say I'm bullish. So 68% move, basically from the trend line, which would be the pullback area, to the high. From this area, or from the current price to the high, would be 23%. Because this one's still so expensive, me personally, I would not buy this one. I'd pick any of these other ones over GSOL at this point. It's not because it doesn't look bullish. It's just because the upside for the other ones is much higher, in my opinion, at least until price discovery. So GXLM, looking bullish, need to get above the EMAs. This would be the breakout candle here. So this trend line is still going to be support. That's roughly about $30. Looking for it to get all the way up here to $69. So that would be from the pullback roughly about, I think, like a 2.25x or something. So 76% move here. And then from the pullback area to the swing high, about 123% move. Mana, this one's starting to slowly move up. Definitely want to see a green candle close above these EMAs. Haven't seen it yet. You can see that the histogram is starting to turn that lighter shade of red, though. That's an indication of a weakening of the bear trend, and it might reverse into a bull trend. That's generally speaking what that means. You can see it did the inverse here on the bear side. So current support is still going to be between $18 to about $20. The swing high up here is $70. We'll talk about new price points if we get into price discovery, but right now we're not yet in price discovery mode. So 172% from current price to the swing high, and from the bottom of the range to the swing high, about 283% move. Zcash, this one's kind of chopping around a little bit. It's not doing much. I don't know where the heck all the support and resistance zones went. It just magically disappeared. Okay. All right. So yeah, it appears we have a breakout candle here. This could be a follow-up candle. It needs to be a little bit more bullish than this. I mean, that's kind of a small green candle. I'm not fully convinced with that. So let me go ahead and draw in some zones here again, since I don't know what the heck TradingView is doing. Okay. Yeah, so that's going to be a resistance right there. And then pretty much what we're looking for here is we're looking for as many touch points in a particular area as humanly possible to label as resistance and or support. The more it's traded in a particular zone, price zone, that generally means that's usually where it's going to have a big move, either up or down. So as of right now, kind of the bottom of this trend line is going to be the support, so about $4. And then the resistance zone here is between 720 all the way up to 1050. Pretty wide range, but again, it depends on how the price action trades and where most of it trades at. That's kind of how we do this. So from the current price to the swing high up here, you'd be looking at about 81%. And then from the trend line to the swing high up here, 159%. Now, in terms of which ones I think are the most primed to have the biggest moves, I mean, LTCN looks good as far as I'm concerned. We just need to see the candle turn green. Same thing with BCHG. I would say LTCN BCHG look very bullish as far as I'm concerned. I would consider them buys if I was going to buy it. But again, you know, we're not in it right now, so we have other things we're focusing on. But I'm just saying, just in general, not financial advice. HZENs, I would have been looking to buy back here versus over here, but it does still have some upside potential in my opinion. ETCG, we already own this one, so we'd probably just simply add to it at these prices. We already missed our opportunity to buy down here at these prices. Usually when it hits a major support bounce or resistance rejection area, it doesn't usually sit there very long. As you guys can see, it kind of came down here and in 3 weeks, boom, popped back up. ETH, I would not buy this one right now. I'd wait for a pullback. PhilG, this one is probably one of the most bullish in my opinion. I think that, especially with a pullback, this could be an absolute grand slam trade. That's just my opinion. GBAT looks very good. This is very bullish. Potentially, I'd be waiting to get back down here at 14. That's just me. If it didn't hit 14, I'd just move on. That would just be my opinion, but you guys can come up with your own thesis on this. So GLIV, this is a perfect entry opportunity because, again, this would be the breakout candle. And then ideally, we'd have a move higher into the all-time highs and or price discovery. G-Link, same thing. Pretty much the same as GLIV. GSOL, I would not touch this one because, again, it's still expensive. This could also be a fake out where it pumps and then it dumps all the way back down heavy. That could happen too. It's just too far extended away from support, in my opinion, for me to want to get into this. It's just too much risk. So GXLM, this one does look good, although I would say, in my opinion, I think GLIV and G-Link are much more bullish. Mana, same thing. We're getting this potential breakout candle right here. Perfect setup, in my opinion, at the perfect time too. But you guys can do what you want with that. And Zcash, oh, look, there's all the different zones. Isn't that weird? Okay, so Zcash, this thing could potentially turn pretty bullish here soon. But again, I would want to see this green candle look a lot bigger like the body of the candle to be much larger and be green. So anyways, hope y'all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.